Hey gang, I just wanted to talk a little bit more in this video about observational studies and experiments, go over an experimental design, a little bit of vocabulary. So right here at the top we can see an observational study is something where no treatment is imposed, only observation. So you're not actually doing anything to the participants, you're just observing them, recording the results of whatever you're interested in. For an experiment, we're actually going to impose a treatment. Okay. Big reason we want to do that is because it allows us allows causation. We can show that hopefully one thing might cause something else. If we're only doing an observational study, we can't do that. One thing that we need to be careful about when we do conduct even observational studies or experiments is something called a confounding variable. So a confounding variable, those are variables that are not controlled for that affect results. You might also sometimes hear these called lurking variables. Okay, an example of this is the example where as ice cream sales increase, drownings tend to increase as well. So does that mean that ice cream causes drownings? Well, no, probably not. There's another variable there. As it gets warmer out, people eat more ice cream. As it gets warmer out, people go swimming more, and there are more drownings. So that lurking variable, that confounding variable, is the warmth, the temperature outside. That's basically causing an increase in both of these. So you have to be careful about that. When we design an experiment, this is typically the setup for designing an experiment. Okay, we start off with our participants. Now, those are typically people, but they might not always be people. It could be other things. So let's say we're starting off with 44 students. Okay, from those 44 students, we would want to randomly assign them to 2 or more groups. Okay, so in this case, group 1 has 22 students, group 2 has 22 students. And then we impose a treatment. So here, in this example, I'm using that they're taking an SAT class, or they're not taking an SAT class, or you could think of this as an ACT class. Okay? But the people in group 1 are taking this class. The people in group 2 are not taking the class. And then at the end, we look at the average scores of the 2 groups. Okay? And it doesn't have to be just 2 groups. We could have, start off with more students and split them into 3 groups. And maybe one group takes a in-person class, a second group takes a virtual class, and a third group takes no class. And then we compare the results. Okay. But this is how you would typically want to set up the design of an experiment. One thing, again, that's very important here is this random assignment. Without the random assignment, if we just said, all right, half of you, whoever wants to sign up for this class, go ahead, sign up for this class. The other half, you won't take the class, and then we'll compare the results. Well, we've got some variables in there that could affect our results. First of all, maybe people that are going to sign up for a class are also more motivated and tend to do better in school in general. And then it might not actually be the class that's causing the increase in SAT scores, but it might be just their ability as a student. Okay, it could be that maybe the class is being held after school, and some people don't have the means to get home after taking a class like that. Maybe they have to ride the bus home, and so the people that are in that group taking the class may have another variable, okay, that we're not accounting for if we simply let them choose. Okay, so that's why random assignment is so very important when we're designing experiments. A little bit of other language we want to discuss here. Experimental unit. That is what or who the treatment is imposed on. So in this case, the experimental units would be the students, because they are the ones that are receiving the treatments. Okay. This page has a lot of stuff on it. Really what I want you to focus on this page is just this placebo effect. So the placebo effect is when a fake treatment works. So a lot of times with an experiment, you might have half of the people in the experiment taking some medication, and the other half is also taking what looks to be like the medication, but is actually a placebo. Okay, it might just be a pill that they take that has absolutely no effect. Okay, it's oftentimes a sugar pill or something like that. So that everybody in the experiment thinks they're getting the medication, but only half of the people are. Because what oftentimes happens is when people believe they're taking the medication, just that belief makes it appear like the medication is working. And so by having a placebo, we're able to determine, all right, is it actually the medication or is it just people's belief in the medication? Okay. 4 key principles of experiments. So we've got comparison, so 2 or more treatments, so taking a class or not taking the class, for example. If we're not comparing it to anything, what's the point? Random assignment. Again, very important to use a chance process to assign treatments to experimental units. Okay, you don't decide, they don't decide, you leave it up to a random assignment. Number 3, control. So you want to try and keep all other variables besides the treatment constant. Okay, and that's part of the reason for the random assignment, is so that even if we aren't able to control for all the variables, by randomly assigning people, we're hoping that we spread those other variables out evenly among the 2 groups. Okay. And then replication, use enough experimental units to distinguish differences. So you don't just want to do an experiment with 2 people, and then when the medication works for both of them, you claim that this medication works. 2 people is not enough. You want to have enough people that you can feel confident that the results of your experiment can be applied to a larger group of people. Now, one other thing about experiments that I don't have on here, but something that we need to think about with experiments is the morality of the experiments, the ethics. Okay, sometimes we can't ethically complete an experiment. For example, if we want to know if smoking causes lung cancer, okay, well, we can compare 2 or more treatments. You smoke or you don't smoke. Okay, we can try to control for other variables. We can replicate it with a lot of people, but we can't really randomly assign people, especially if we believe that smoking does cause lung cancer. It wouldn't be ethical for us to say, all right, half of you are going to be randomly assigned to smoke a pack a day for the next 10 years, and the other half of you will not smoke. Okay? By doing that, if we really believe that smoking causes lung cancer, we're basically saying that we're going to give half of you lung cancer, and that's not ethical. When that happens, we use other methods to kind of try to determine that causation effect. But usually, if random assignment is a possibility and it's ethical, we want to use random assignment. All right. The last thing that I want to look at here is this idea of were individuals randomly assigned to groups and were individuals randomly selected. So if we randomly select people to be in our experiment and we randomly assign them to groups, that's this top left, then we can make an inference about the population and about cause and effect. So inference is making a conclusion based on evidence and reasoning. So because people were randomly selected, we can say that we believe we have information about the entire population. Because they were randomly assigned, we can apply this cause and effect. Okay? Notice in the bottom left, if they weren't randomly selected, we can't make inferences about the population. All we can say about is the group of individuals that we've sampled. Okay? In the top right, if we don't randomly assign people, then we can't say anything about cause and effect. We might find a correlation, a relationship between the two, but we can't infer cause and effect. And if we don't have random assignment or random selection, then all we're really doing is saying that there's some relationship between these two things within the people that we sampled, not necessarily within the population, and we can't show cause and effect either. Okay? So the ideal here is random assignment with random selection, randomly selecting people to be in your experiment, randomly assigning those people to different groups.